Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Turn off some stuff here and then get started. Right. Let's get to the bar, shall we? Or to the office, I should say. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the office hours. My name is Paul, Berserker 01 Batman Shell, your humble host and space bartender at the Astropub. And yeah, this is a live stream. Office hours is a live stream where we do all questions, take questions from the audience, just kind of hang out and talk Star Citizen. A lot of news and other things to discuss, personal views, and lore stuff as well. I think I'm going to start ramping up on a lot of the lore stuff. I've been kind of backlogged because of other things I've been trying to do, and honestly, this is the worst time of year for me for work, so. Welcome, Gyrating, Target, Lazarus, Inferno Droid, Revose, Sci-fi, Mason, how y'all doing? So I will say, I am vindicated, because I have a belief, I have proof where I know where CIG is going this year. We'll talk a little bit about it with some of the other stuff, so. Of course we start without you. We always start without you, Puppet. Hey, Sandy. But, no, we just started. So, to let you all know, the plan is that I'm going to start doing shorter lore content, which is kind of like whenever they do like a new lore document, a lore update every Tuesday, I'm going to try to start making a shorter video on that, plus either a short video on some major topic of the lore or work on my longer history of the verse stuff. So what I've done, I've been working on yesterday, and I wanted to get done today, but I just didn't have it. I only have 2 more questions left, is the lore Q&As. Now, these are going to be a little bit more freeform, as it were. They're going to be talking about the Q&As, like, or the recent stuff, and kind of, I'll tie it into some of the other stuff for context and such. But it's mostly just, I'm probably going to be shitting on a lot of the stuff because people ask really dumb questions. Like one of the questions that they just chose to answer for the lore makers, which I get why it was picked, was, are gangs going to have their own colors? What? What? Gangs have their own colors in game now. The Ninetales have their own specific skin and armor. Like, what? It was cool to know that they were talking about how they want to do things like different outfits, which we kind of already knew about, and how the socioeconomic status of those gangs will determine what they look like. But I mean, I guess I figured that was the case. But you know, yeah. Hey, thank you for that $25. When do you think we would actually get we'll actually get the 317 update? Every game, you have to be more specific, otherwise you're going to weasel out. Because I'll give you that CIG will say that it will be out for public consumption sometime at the end of Q1. Which does not mean released. We will get it with the PTU, and then we'll probably get the PTU sometime in March. Q1 2023? Exactly. Now, I expect us to get the PTU sometime in March in Evocati, and then the first wave PTU will probably happen sometime towards the end of March with an open PTU the first week of April, and open, or you know, maybe open PTU by the end of the first week of April, and like a release sometime in mid-April. At best, mid-April. Probably at late May. March 2032, exactly. Hey, Death Trooper. It's up there with, can we use AI blades for turrets for X and Y and Z ship? Now, I know there's one guy who asks that question every time. There's one guy who asks it for every single one. And when you tell him it's a dumb question, he's like, I'm going to try to keep them honest. And I want to sit here going, they're just going to change it if it doesn't work. Just because they say that they're planning on doing it does not mean that it's a promise that they're going to do it. But every time I mention that, somebody in the comments goes, you're such an arrogant asshole. It's like, sometimes you people need a splash of like reality to your face. Like, ugh. And anyone who goes, what do you mean you people? I mean you. Quarter 7, 2257, the same date when Babylon 5 went operational. Yes. So we're going to be going over a couple of things today. We're going to go over the ISC. We're going to be going over the roadmap update. And we're also going to be going over the monthly report. So because the monthly report was released, we're going to do a full breakdown. And stick around and watch the full breakdown, especially if you're watching this later. I'll try to timestamp it if I can remember. But yeah, I definitely wait for the read through if you're going to be listening to this anyways, you know, when you're working at work or whatever, and you want to know those things, because whenever I see like shortened breakdowns of these, they're always filled with conjecture and like when you summarize something that has a lot of details to it, you're going to get some stuff wrong. So if you're not going to read it, then at least listen for the whole thing. Sometimes a splash of reality isn't enough. They need it chiseled in Latin on brick and smacked upon their head. How dare you? I am not a people. Question. Any thoughts on when the next event like JT, Xenothreat, and Ninetales Lockdown will come around? It seems like we had all the events at once. If not 317, then a 317.1 or 318. Because if you've been watching this over the last couple of weeks, the office hours of the last couple of weeks, there have been multiple references to a new event that's being worked on by Narrative and other teams. So there is definitely a narrative that is currently, or an event that is currently being worked on. They've already recorded audio lines for it. Now, based off of my experience with CIG's development style, then again, this is an older kind of doctrine that they used to go with. If they are recording audio, that means that they are not quite done building it, but they have written the scripts for it. So they have an idea of what they want to do, but they're not completely solid on it. But they are recording audio, and we do know that Anna, she did post on her Twitter that she was doing audio reading lines for Star Citizen for like hours. So that doesn't mean that it's Dooley. It could be. That is one of her biggest characters, but it does mean that she's probably involved in some sort of event. They're bringing back Xenothreat and JT all the time now. They released a schedule. Yes. Hey, Twinkle Thumbs. Got my new Samsung G780, and you look so different now with colors and such. Were you playing on an old black and white CRT or something? Or is that just green? You got your CRT from like the 70s? I can't believe I waited this long for a quality monitor. It's very different. I recently updated one and mine and that kind of stuff. 2 words, distress bacon. All right, let's see this link. Yes, they do have a schedule. But the schedule is going until March 6th, so it goes until this weekend.
2 words. Distress bacon.
Why is it going twice? Enjoy the reputation part of ISC. I feel vindicated. I'm going to talk about it here in a moment. I'm going to say this. I don't care about the rivers. They're nice, and I'm sure they're working very hard on them, and it's very cool. But, I'm sure I'm getting a lot of people are going to get angry about that, but I don't think the rivers are the big thing. I think the reputation system being tweaked is a much more important thing. An event that involves a salvage, perhaps. Maybe. I mean, Salvage is coming out at the earliest 3/18, so. 4 words: distressed bacon. We're not getting rivers, we're getting 1 river. Yeah, that's the important thing. Let's keep this the hype monitored and regulated. Just like the 1 coffee shop on ArcCorp, we're getting 1 river in Microtech. It's basically they went past the prototype stage and went into their early implementation stage, and they're just putting it in because they got it done. It's the first step for Undercraze, and we are not angry at you. You have a right to be wrong. Listen, I'm sure somebody is been waiting for months and years for CIG to add rivers to Star Citizen, to that space game. But, oh, thank you for that next $25. You should work on getting a 4K camera so you can utilize my 4K option now. This is a 4K camera, but I can't broadcast in 4K. Because, no, there's no way I can get the amount of quality with 4K. With the rivers, I feel like there's a joke about road maps and backers tiers. Question: do you feel that a lot of players are focusing too much on the river thing rather than what we've learned about reputation or the dynamic mission system that was on the progress tracker? Demir, you are hitting directly on what I was about to talk about. Let's just get into it. All right, so let me pull this up first so I can explain. So I can walk you through my madness here. In fact, I'm gonna make myself a little bigger. I think I'm a little too small on the screen. There we go. I'm terrible at the rule of thirds, but I don't care. Roadmap Roundup. Here we go. All right. Oh, wait, let me... roadmap. Progress tracker. All right. Let's get to the presentation. All right, so here we have, right here, the release view. If I could turn on the volume just a little bit more. The roadmap roadmap. So core tech rivers. This tool allows for rivers and basins to be further developed and readied for production use in order to enhance the ecosystems of our planets. The first implementation of this persistent universe is Microtech's river. Okay. Which is the name, CIG? We need a name for the river. First off, lore-wise, this is important. All right? You already have Babbage in there. Might I suggest... Hold on. The Hamilton River, after Margaret Hamilton, who was an American computer scientist and systems engineer, who was famously coded for NASA in 1995. But I think she worked since before that, too. But anyways, probably a good idea. The Shelley River. Anywho, so it's nice. The bigger thing is the progress tracker adding the dynamic missions. Now let me show you. what I mean by that. So, let's look at what the dynamic mission system actually says. The dynamic mission system will allow select mission types to be dynamically tailored to the current environment, and quantum at a later date. These missions will be customizable, and payment will accurately reflect the distance traveled and risk involved. Now, for those of you who don't know, the missions that we currently have are placeholders, and most of those missions will be put under a dynamic system, like bounty hunting and mission retrievals and box missions. All of those will eventually morph into the dynamic mission system, which is one of the reasons why CIG has been hesitant to do more missions, because they know that if they do more missions, they will lose all that work when the new mission system comes in. Now, it's important to remember as well that this is the mission feature team. So this is there you go, mission system. So it's being worked on. I think that's more the back end. I think it's an upstream team. Now, if you look through here, the wrong way. Look at when they complete. It looks like they're completing this sprint around September, which is a long ways away. But it means, and that could also obviously change as we go through. But it's important to remember that this is a big deal because of what we learned about Reputation. Because they're working on Reputation on the back end, the things they mentioned are things that I have been wanting for a very long time. Specifically, I hate the current crime system. I think the current crime system is dumb, it's arcadey and gamey, not immersive and not fun. Because to me, there is nothing... As I know people like to think about this, I've heard this often, but Paul, anyone who has a crime stat in Microtech will have a crime stat with a UEE, so it doesn't matter. And my response to that is, it does matter, because if I've got a bunch of parking tickets, I shouldn't have a federal warrant out for me. And unless I've shot somebody and fled the state, I'm not going to have the FBI chasing me down. I'll have the state police doing so. Which is important. Jurisdiction is a very big part of law enforcement. It's a big part about laws and the complicated nature of laws, especially if you, say, do a crime and then flee to another country. And effectively, every planet in the Star Citizen universe is its own country. They're, in fact, almost referred to as states, well, in the sense of like nations. So, in the lore. So they're their own nations within the overarching patchwork of the UEE, which is more of an overarching federal system. But you're dealing with a federal alliance, more like it. So as a result, most of the crimes, like law enforcement, is done at a planetary level or at a city level, not at a galaxy-wide level. And if the advocacy's after you, you've done some pretty messed up stuff. So, not a federal warrant, an APB by the National Guard is more like it. Yeah, effectively. So it's important to keep that in mind. So the whole back-end reputation thing is effectively, it's what I wanted. What a lot of people wanted. Instead of having things tied to your crime stat, it's tied to your reputation with certain individuals and certain groups. Now, obviously, when they mentioned this, it was like, hey, we're going to start the process with 317. We're going to be adding stuff there, but it's mostly going to be back end, and then we're going to continue in the not too distant future, which tells me that if they're adding the dynamic mission system as a sprint and they're working on reputation, that maybe by the end of this year, most likely by the end of this year, we will start seeing the first implementation of dynamic mission systems with complex reputations added to them. Effectively, anyone who's ever played Freelancer or Privateer will remember the various crisscrossing reputations, where if you got a reputation with a certain group, you might lose your reputation with other groups. So it's a lot better idea. And frankly, I think the crime stats need to go that way as well, because the idea that you have a warrant out for your arrest is, and you know about it in your HUD all the time, is kind of dumb. I feel like, you know, you may have access to find out if you do, but you have to look for it. It also will punish players who are more new, though, which is why I know a lot of people are hesitant, because at least there's a nice big UI that says you are wanted. Instead of just being wanted because they did something stupid and then they end up getting killed and be like, this is stupid, I got fucked up by the game. It's like, yeah, because you committed a crime. But at the same time, you want to let players figure out they fucked up. Because I think if players get angry because, like, random NPCs shot me, and then someone goes, what did you do? It's like, oh, I just accidentally bumped the ATC tower. It's like, you crashed a ship into a working air traffic control tower. You're gonna get arrested for that, mate. Like, I don't know how to put that to you. But how will this make Rivers better? And for those of you who don't know my long spiel about reputation, I did an entire video on this. Reputation is the groundwork upon which the lore comes. So people who are wondering, who like really want the lore in game, like myself, really want the reputation system in and fully fleshed out. Because as the dynamic mission system gets in and as the reputation comes in, then we start to see actual lore points. The mission givers will start to have more missions specifically tailored to them because of reputation. Because essentially, each mission giver is supposed to have different tiers of missions that they give you. And depending on the missions you do for them will determine, and how well you do them, will determine their affinity for you. And after you reach a certain level of affinity, then you will rank up to the next tier with them after some sort of like set piece mission, something that is big and dramatic and think like Grand Theft Auto style in terms of that like, you know, you reach a certain point with reputation with somebody that they you got to do something big to kind of move along. So yeah, like that will tell the story of the individuals in the universe, which will then open the gateway for people learning more about the universe around them. Planets need fauna. They do, but they also need to have the mesh implemented properly, and they need to have server meshing in so that they can put more NPCs per server in those regions. Anybody who's banging on about fauna, like the stalker, is barking up the wrong tree. There's no reason for CIG to put in the stalker just because they could put in the stalker. Having the Boreal Stalker into Microtech's woods just randomly spawn is a cool idea, but like one river and one coffee shop, it's kind of pointless. It doesn't really do much for the actual gameplay, other than make people go, ooh, which I guess is nice for CIG's marketing team, but I want the game. So. Question, wonder if some kinds of rep will be passed on to your ancestors. They will. You mean descendants, not ancestors. Ancestors is backwards, descendants is forwards. But yeah, they will. Your rep will be transferable to your descendants, only in small portions. So effectively, if you die, you will lose some of that rep, but you still will have a lot of that rep for just being the, you know, inheritor of the estate of this last person. Anakin Skywalker has crashed the Separatist starship, destroyer, the control tower, and didn't receive a crime stat. Listen, that is true, but he was also a Jedi. Will there be an estate tax? They have never confirmed it. They have never come out and said there will be, but they have heavily implied that there will be some sort of tax on your estate when you die, when you do the big death, the big sleep, the ghost, you become a ghost. Hunt Stalker in a cave mission. Yeah, but that's dumb. I mean, like, it would look bad and be janky, and half the time the Stalker would just be clipping into a wall and staring at nothing, like current NPCs do. Do you think they'll implement hunting species for unique wear armor clothing? Think Red Dead? Probably, but probably not for unique crafting. I think you're more likely to be hunting species for specific gear so that you can then give them to a specific mission giver or specific entity, you know, like some sort of company that deals in exotic clothing. And you might get, as a reputation reward, a sample of the merchandise. Write me a check, I'll take it with me. No. Question, how mate mechanics will like because dating a fellow citizen is grounds for divorce? Paul, do you see them implementing kids? No. I don't think you're going to be able to marry NPCs or players in game. Maybe not, at least not initially. That's not kind of what they're looking for. You definitely won't have kids in the game. They have shown off child models they've done for like cinematics and such, but I think they may also be wary of having children in the game when you can kill everyone, you know? Because I think there were several games that got into serious trouble with that or were worried about it and turned off the ability to kill the children. So, and I think CIG's even said something to the effect of they have no plans of putting kids in the game. So, yeah. Is the river only 1 to 2 kilometers long? We call those creeks. Well, it depends on the size of the river. The size of the creek. If there's a creek that's 1 kilometer long and like 10 kilometers wide, it's not really a creek. How will you produce your body for your next death then? What do you mean? It's regen serum. I did 2 videos on this. There is an entire serum that's like regen or like goo, which is like regen goo, which essentially 3D prints your body, and your brain is scanned in using a what is it called? Ibrahim sphere. An Ibrahim sphere. So you scan your brain patterns, you scan your soul effectively into a Ibrahim sphere, and then it is connected through intraspace that constantly updates all statuses of your body and everything. So when you die, you regen and your consciousness is downloaded into the new body. And we don't actually, in lore, even the people who know this barely know how it works. They don't even know how the connections function. They just know it does. Because we stole the tech from the Vanduul. So we're playing with shit we have no idea how it works. But it is set to revolutionize how long humans can live in a universe where humans already live on average of 125 to 150 years. So it's not even altered carbon, because at least altered carbon has stacks. There's no stacks in this. And eventually your patterns degrade and you die. So you're not immortal. It just means that people who would have died in an industrial accident or a spaceship crash won't do that anymore. They'll come back, but they can only go through so many of those before they do the big death. Quantum entanglement cloning machine? How's it work? No idea. Pull the lever. Yeah, and the Vanduul probably stole it too. There was some comment on it because on one of the videos that we did with HC Vertigo, where they're like, "That's the Vanduul don't steal tech. That's not how they work." It's like they were originally conceived of as scavengers, y'all. We know that they have this technology which is far beyond anything the Vanduul have seen before. We've seen the Vanduul use before, so there is a heavy implication that this whole tech is not Vanduul in origin, but something else that they managed to acquire. want to be the T-800 in Star Citizen after so many deaths for tripping over a box. Yeah. So you can start the game like a baby in the future growth and become an adult teenager? No. Probably send you back to character creation? Yes, that's the idea. I think he's wondering if you have to do the horizontal tango to get next of kin. No. You can just designate next of kin. In fact, what you can do, or at least was planned at one point, was to have your extra character slots. So if you have like 3 or 4 game packages, then the other game packages could be converted into effectively personal NPCs, and you could then designate your inheritance to one of those NPCs if you wanted to. So there may be some precursor race in Star Citizen. No, there is no precursor race in Star Citizen. They do not exist in the Star Citizen canon. The lore team and Chris Robertson, multiple people have come out and said, no, there is no precursor race in Star Citizen. It just may be that the Vanduul took tech from a race of a more advanced race, which we have no contact with, which people have theorized possibly the Krithok, possibly some other species, which we haven't seen before. Because for those of you who know history and know that the Star Citizen's heavy basis is in history, the UEE is based off of the later ages of Rome, kind of the fall of Rome. The Xi'an are, or at least initially concepted as the Persians or the Seleucids, and the Banu are heavily influenced as being the Arabian traders, the Arabian nomadic Bedouin peoples of Arabia, and then of course the Vanduul are a not so subtle nod to the Vandals, who were a steppe people from Germanic steppe people who then got pushed into Rome. And everyone knows that the Vandals got pushed into Rome by the Huns. So the theory is the Vandals aren't invading, they're being pushed. By who? The Space Huns, whoever those are. Fingers crossed, last Starfighter movie has the kid playing Star Citizen talking about it at school. Oh, yeah. I mean, being ostracized for playing Star Citizen would be a hell of a boost to the game. I love it when you say "or something else." Literal shivers. Yeah, I've got a flair for words sometimes. What about the Aztecs? Well, the Aztecs were so far out of the picture when it came to this whole endeavor. Oh, we've got a lot of beers. Okay. I see that a lot of people bought beers, so I'm going to do that real quick. 30 minutes ago. And a round of beers. That was 5 days ago. Here we go. You can't kill the crab. No, because everything is crab. That's what the universe has taught us, that everything will eventually become crab. Because crab is the ultimate life form. Question. So after I did and start of my next kin, what happens to my name? It's passed on. There's really no indications about names or characters. I'd like to hope that CIG will implement a name system in Star Citizen so you can have names and handles for specific characters in the game. Because I would rather not my character's handle be named the Astropub for many reasons. I wouldn't mind it. I don't mind it. It's a gamer tag, but like in game, I'd want my character to have a name and a tag or like their own kind of nicknames that I could put in there as an option. So, but we don't really think about that. The Vandals killed the Oni crab. They shot in the aquarium. Aztecs and Mayan were wiped out disease for the Native Americans. That disease they could have easily beat back the Europeans. Well, no, I mean the Aztecs, the Maya, and the Inca are completely out of the picture when it comes to the Roman Empire because they're on the other side of the world. So they really wouldn't have any kind of parallels in Star Citizen. Real questions: are the Tavarn based off the Welsh? Then the Romans took their land. They're more of a collective, but their main source of inspiration was the Carthaginians. because they fought 2 wars against them. 2 wars, the 2 Punic Wars. The second one being a big push with a great leader. Corathal is effectively Hannibal, and how they used new tactics to mess up the Romans. It's almost a paint by numbers, recreation of the Punic Wars. Ah, yes, you were forgetting the precursor race behind Mayans, Egyptians, Sumerians, etc., etc. Pass the TMT, please. I'm going to take that as a joke and not ban you for trying to mention ancient aliens in my goddamn stream. I don't know what's more insulting. The fact that all of these peoples who are not European are suddenly have to be helped by by aliens to have created high technology, or the idea that human beings have no ability to stack blocks on top of other blocks. Oh, well, they didn't have the wheel. They had legs and arms, and many of them had lots of drugs and alcohol. And anyone knows when you have drugs and alcohol and legs and arms, you can do a lot of shit. When the pyramid's flat, you'll be eating those words. So basically, when I die, my stuff gets handed down to my son, Big Anime Titties 4. That would be the least confusing name I've ever heard. I would not doubt that in the 29th century, somebody would be named Big Anime Titties. Someone named their kid Big Anime Titties. Because I'm sure it already exists now. Obviously, it was Europeans who had help from the ancient aliens rather than the First Nations. Yeah. I despise Ancient Aliens. It's one of those shows that should be ridiculed and mocked, and anyone who believes it be laughed at in public, in broad daylight, and never ever issued a firearm or like a driver's license, because the earnest belief in that means that there is something wrong with you. It's a real show in the United States with like 17 seasons. If you've ever seen the Aliens guy, that's where it came from, was Ancient Aliens. Not even joke. Let me look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now. It's not even worth watching for hilarity. It's not even funny. It's just sad. It has 207 episodes and has 18 seasons and is still going. It's been on the air for over 10 years. Loses half your viewers. God, I really hope not. I work with a guy who wholeheartedly believes in aliens and mud fossils and other crazy stuff. We have to distinguish ourselves from overwhelming NPC population somehow, so you can tell them that you're not one of them. Ah, yes, Sir Titties. of the organization 42069 Blaze It, who discovered the wormhole Your Mom's Anus. Yeah, it's on the History Channel. It's whenever you see anyone meme on the History Channel, like constantly in the United States, it's because of that. Aliens do exist. In the universe so large, it's an improbable they do not. They also are so big that probably not notice any. I've seen UFO multiple times. That's fantastic. I'm not talking about UFOs. I'm talking about ancient aliens People who earnestly believe aliens came down to Earth, left zero evidence, and manipulated human genomes to create some sort of, I don't even know, and built giant stone structures, but they came from other star systems. Doubt. All right. I'm not even getting stuck into this conversation, because I'm not even talking about that stuff. I'm talking about the stupid theories, which is an insult to anybody who's ever studied history or archaeology. Did ancient aliens use drugs like Maze and Widow if they've been visiting? So Rep, eh? Yeah, let's get back to that discussion. What would like CIG to work on next lore-wise? Personally, I'd like them to implement as much lore as possible in Star Citizen itself. Because for me, that's where people will actually get involved in the lore. Events are good, but they need to start being connected to the lore more than just tangentially. Like, for those of you who don't know, the Xeno threat message mentions things like the human-Xion trade agreement as one of the reasons for their Cassius Belli, and other issues like that. But I think we really need to have, and again, this is one of those, I'm going to say it because it's going to sound like a broken record. We need to have server meshing in the game so that they can increase the NPC population per server, which would be smaller areas of the larger map, which would allow for more believable NPC traffic, which would allow for more events and lore points. No, there's nothing like that in Luminous. There's no progenitor race in Star Citizen. The closest we have to a progenitor race is the Hadesians, and they blew themselves up millions of years ago and apparently never discovered a jump point. So, Jack Frags did another video on Star Citizen. Yes, that's and apparently Board Gamer got interviewed by another big kind of video game news group. One of those YouTubers who does like reaction videos to video games and nerd culture. Can't remember what that is. Are any Cardassians in Star Citizen? No. No and no. Not in not the Star Trek Cardassians or the IRL Cardassians. What is what's that fragment in the hangar flare that's all the inscriptions on it? It's a Hadesian fragment, I believe. There are artifacts that are being recovered from Hades, which is the system where the Hadesians had lived. But the Hadesians lived millions of years ago and wiped themselves out, and in the process blew up a planet. Like Death Star blew up a planet. There is like 2.5 planets because one of the planets was shattered in literal half and spread around the system. The other 2 planets are wastelands of debris and like chaos. It's like just everything got shelled to death. And there are multiple signs of fighting and fierce fighting and like weapons that were used that would literally burn the like shadows of Hadesians into the wall. They're the spider people. Yeah, they're like the Driders. They kind of have these spider-like, they have like a thorax with like little legs, and they have like a torso with 2 arms. So, that we know of. Has there been any more? No, there's been no more lore of the Flying Dutchman. You mean the Vara. So the day of the Vara, Star Citizen's Halloween, is actually in honor of the disappearance of the Vara. which supposedly still shows up today in Hades, which was a research vessel that went into Hades shortly after it was discovered and then vanished. Can we make a PSA that just says something, the progress tracker ends doesn't mean it's complete, including items that ending on December 22nd, you know, because it doesn't extend to the next year? Yeah. I mean, I've already said that, but yeah, they should already know that. Anything that is on the progress tracker is when a sprint ends, not when it's complete. Hey, Axis. Thank you. Level Cap. Oh, Level Cap's done Star Citizen before, though. I thought it was somebody else. I know who Level Cap is. He's actually done Star Citizen content before. He like knows Nubifier. It'd be cool if the echoes of that war could be uncovered in some way. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Hades is one of the most anticipated systems for a lot of players in Star Citizen, just because of how cool it's going to be. Yeah, he's pretty big. Yes, Jack Fribes. This is something I'm going to be very, very clear about. Star Citizen will be looked at by every single major YouTuber who does any kind of game content at some point in their careers. And the fact that people like Jack Frags are getting interested in Star Citizen just sort of proves that us who have been around longer and are super close to the project and kind of really focus on it, that we have, I don't even know if there's a syndrome. Correct me in chat or in the comments below if there is something that's already for this. But effectively, I'm going to dub it the Roberts syndrome, after Chris Roberts, where the closer you are to, or the Roberts rule of attachment, where the closer you are to some event or some organization, the less objective you become about it, both for good and for ill. Where people who are too close to something become less or more detached from the reality of it. Yes, Space Cutlet is okay. He's on the western edges of Ukraine currently with his family, but his daughter has a cast of some kind. She got injured. I don't know if it was from the war. I think it was from before the war, and he's stuck. He can't go back in there yet. So that's the clinical Robert syndrome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like religion is a good example. But like any project, like, the people who are super obsessed with SpaceX have the same problem, where like they'll worship and idolize Elon Musk when Musk isn't the guy who's doing all the work. It's a lot of the rocket engineers at SpaceX who he pays to know these things. Musk is a smart-ish dude. He's a, software engineer, but he's not a rocket scientist. So don't drink the Kool-Aid. Flavor-Aid. I hate that term. Don't drink the Flavor-Aid. Like Stockholm Syndrome? Kind of, but less of a, but more real. Stockholm Syndrome is not real. It's kind of a made-up disease that, make people as distress bacon. Is he actually starting working with him now? Aimless? I haven't heard about that, so. I don't know where you're hearing that story, Shady. The story about a Hades ship, about the Xi'an ship found drifting with the crew being ripped apart by the supposed docile livestock they were transporting. I don't remember that. I'd have to look up for that one. That may be just an invented one. Yeah. Basically, Stockholm Syndrome is an invention by to smear people with like what's it called? Empathy. I don't even think it's recognized as a mental disorder of any kind, or kind of the DCM or whatever. I'm not a psychotherapist, so we don't realize progress as much because we were involved in it every day. Exactly, Jedi Drifter. That's kind of the point. It's like the closer you are to something, the less, I say detached, or the more detached, but the less, you lose a lot of perspective on the project. DSM, thank you. DSM 5. That's good to hear, though, Aimless. Thanks for letting me know. I could be wrong about that, about Stockholm Syndrome, but I'm pretty sure it's not even recognized in the DSM. But yeah, the point being that I think a lot of us older backers, those of you who've been around longer, who get super frustrated with CIG's progress, is because we just lack the perspective. We're just too close to it. Which I know it's kind of toxic to tell somebody who's angry at CIG to like take a break. But it kind of helps to gain perspective. DSM-5 would be, it would be a good one. Did you hear about the American scientist who may have discovered the key to warp accidentally? I've heard of it. I don't know if that's true or not. It was removed from the DSM. Okay. What's my favorite bit of Pyro lore? A lot of Pyro lore hasn't been written yet or hasn't been released yet, so it's hard to tell. I do like the fire rats, partially because the players made them. For those of you who don't know, the fire rats are a gang that was invented by players during a live stream. So effectively, the fire rats are Twitch-designed Star Citizen, which is fitting because they worship the sun, are, I think, orphans, or made up of orphans. They live underground and are obsessed with fire. It was verified by his peers, but years from practical application. Oh, okay. Yeah, they created a warp bubble. I'd have to look more into details about that. Not saying for the forest for the trees. Yeah. That's why watching new people experience this for the first time is so good most of the time. Well, it's because for a lot of people who've been playing the game for a long time, things that people see for the first time is amazing to them because they just see how complex and deep Star Citizen is, and they haven't hit the limits of it. After you've done, every single mission 40 times, it gets kind of dull. But when you realize that every single mission being done 40 times is kind of a big deal. Because if you've done everything 40 times, you probably have like hundreds of hours into Star Citizen. Exactly. Yeah. What, you mean I could fly on that moon and land on it? That's not a skybox? I can just land in random places? Get out and walk around? You watch the sunset and rise? I don't know. My first experience with Star Citizen was wandering around a planet for an hour only to crash my ship inside a docking bay. Yeah, that's going to happen too. That's I'm going to also come up with another law called Shelley's Law, which is if you post anything positive about Star Citizen, within 3 seconds, someone will post negative to try to cancel out your take. Because that happens every single time someone says anything positive about Star Citizen. Oh, I had this amazing experience. Oh, I'm glad you did. I fell through a planet. And I don't think it's Star Citizen alone. I think it's any project of a significant size or any community of a significant size. Whenever someone posts a positive experience about that, about the game or whatever, there's always going to be someone who's going to post something negative in that. I wonder if CIG is using Agile or Waterfall project management. Last I checked, they're using a combination of the two. Or at least they said they're using Agile, but they don't seem to be using Agile. We're getting rivers soon, TM. We're getting in 317. Rivers are coming in 317. That's been confirmed, y'all. By rivers, I mean one river. And by one river, I mean one river in Microtech, which is only 2 kilometers long. Gotta watch out for those Agile waterfalls. I'm not trying to. It looks like I'm peaking really badly. Is my audio okay on your side, guys? Guys and gals? It's a hell of a river, though. Yes, ISC did talk about the rivers. Go watch that. They also talked about the new reputation stuff that they've been working on, which is fantastic. Again, vindication. Because I've been saying for a very long time that reputation is more important than anything you realize. It is the second currency in Star Citizen and matters a hell of a lot. And will start mattering more and more as the game becomes more and more developed. It is the backbone of the dynamic economy, the backbone of most of the game's missions. It's incredibly important. But nobody cares because all they care about is cash. But in the near future, when you can't land on a station because you pissed off the station owner, you'll care about reputation. That's where where reputation is eventually going to be going. Question, do I think anything else will come in 317? Oh yes, CIG always slips in sneaky shit into their patches. They've been doing it more and more in the last couple patches too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if reputation got hooked up to like smuggling, because it's currently not hooked up to smuggling, but it is hooked up to several of the other trading missions, and maybe even hooked up to like body finding missions or any of those other mission types. Events become reputation bombs, radically changing your gameplay experience for weeks after. Exactly. Like, CIG's even said they want to make it so that you can actually fight with Xenothreat on the side of Xenothreat. But if you're fighting on the side of Xenothreat, I hope you don't want to go to, any station or landing zone in Stanton for the weeks afterwards, because it's not going to happen. .317.1 is going to be interesting. I think it is. It'll depend, because I don't know if we'll see I theorize we will see an event in 317.1. But I don't know. It really depends on what stage that event is at. I hope the coffee at the vendor does damage if we drink it too soon. My coffee immersion. All right, y'all. I'm going to be right back, and when I get back, we're going to talk about the progress tracker. Progress tracker, the monthly report. Don't go anywhere.
Two words. Distress bacon.
Barcelona! Barcelona!
Two words. Distress bacon.
Barcelona!
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Two words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Good news, everyone!
Weapons free, y'all.
Two words. Distress bacon.
Kitchen amount.
Cajita's wares, if you have coin.
Two words. Distress
Drugs.
bacon. Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Two words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Two words. Distress bacon. Two words. Distress bacon. Two words. Distress bacon.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Two words. Two words. Distress bacon. Two words. Distress
I'm
bacon.
just an old-fashioned
Two
cowboy.
words. Distress bacon. Two words. Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon. Two words. Two words. Distress bacon. Two words. Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon. Distress bacon. Distress bacon. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Two words. Distress. Two words.
Drugs.
Distress bacon. Two words.
Cajita's
Two words.
wares,
Distress
if
bacon.
you have coin.
Distress
Good news,
bacon.
everyone!
Two words.
Good news,
Two words.
everyone.
Distress bacon. Two words. Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Distress bacon. Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon. Two words. Distress bacon. Two words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Two words. Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon.
Drugs. Drugs.
Two words. Two words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Two words. Distress bacon. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Two words. Distress. Two words.
Weapons free, y'all.
Drugs.
Two words. Two words. Distress. Distress bacon.
Drugs. Drugs.
Two words. Two words. Distress. Distress
Drugs.
bacon.
Drugs.
Two
Drugs.
words. Distress bacon.
Drugs. Drugs.
2 words. 2 words. Distress. Distress. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
Drugs.
Distress.
Drugs.
Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
Drugs.
Distress.
Drugs.
Bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. 2 words. Distress.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2
Drugs.
words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon.
Drugs. Drugs.
2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Everybody
2
and his
words.
dog calls himself an outlaw.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Drugs.
Bartolona! Bartolona!
Drugs.
2 words. Distress.
Drugs.
Bacon. 2
Drugs.
words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
Good
2
news,
words.
everyone!
Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
Everybody and his
Drugs.
dog calls himself an outlaw.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
Bounty hunting is a complicated
2
profession.
words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs. 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 Drugs.
2 words. 2 words. Distress. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress.
Drugs.
Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
I'm flying.
Distress. Bacon.
I'm pilot.
2 words. Distress.
Drugs.
Bacon.
Drugs.
I've returned.
2
Sorry.
words. Distress. Bacon.
All right.
2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Bacon. Distress.
Drugs.
Bacon.
Drugs.
The hell you all doing?
Distress. Bacon.
Stop it before I. All right.
Distress. Bacon. Distress. Bacon. 2 words.
Drugs.
Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon. 2 words. Distress. Bacon.
Drugs.
I'm turning it off if you keep doing this. Hate you all.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Alert level bacon. Damn, I only lost 4 views. I actually gained viewers. Because when I left, I was at 80 viewers, and now I'm at 105. Hey, Carlos. It's the battle of the bacon and drugs, apparently. No, it was the chat doing it. We created. What's the lore, Victoria? What was the lore? 2 lords distress bugs, drugs, distress bugs, distress drugs. The battle of bacon over drugs. Question: do you think reputation will be more important in Pyro than in Stanton? No. I think they'll be equally important. I think reputation will end up impacting you more, but it won't be any less important. I told chat you left like my dad and may not come back. Went out to get a pack of cigarettes and some milk, Carlos. Is that it? Bacon may need to be a tradable commodity. You want beer? Here's some beer. See how much beer was purchased. Y'all just was spamming that the entire time, weren't you? Oh, because Scorp raided. Hi, Scorp. Oh, no, that was 11 days ago. What? No. What? What? We were subbing you with bacon. Pubcoin was suspended? Yes. Lots of it. Praise the bacon. Dad Paul. We've already said it's not Dad Paul, Max. It's Lord Daddy. That's how that was supposed to work. Everything changed when the fire bacon attacked, when the Bacon Nation attacked. It's Lord of Lore, but if you're going to be familiar with me, if you're going to do the familiar tone, then it's got to be Lord Daddy. Those are the only two. Question: do you think Magic 8 Ball should say all signs point to yes? That all the work being done on selling items to vendors means BMM sitcom maybe? I don't think it's an unreasonable assumption to think that Banu Merchantman is going to try to be released sometime this year. It is currently in concept, and those ships take a long time, but it seems to be going through the phases fairly quickly. Now, that still takes a long time. Let me look up the Banu Merchantman real quickly, because it's on the progress tracker. So it looks like the Banu Merchantman is still being worked on through December. So at least according to CIG's own estimates, we will not see the Banu Merchantman this year. The vehicle experience team doesn't even get a hold of it until November. So. It's funny because YouTube is discussing Star Citizen stuff and Twitch was going off the deep end. That's pretty on brand for Twitch, though, Myth. Lord Daddy Rider of the King Argo Cargo. I said it's in gray box now, which is weird because a gray box usually means that they're like it's a step below final art. Generally speaking, the way that Star Citizen works is concept art phase, white box, gray box, final art, release. But according to the progress tracker, it's still in the EU vehicle content team through December. I don't put it past CIG to be further than they're telling us on the BMN and just releasing things when they already worked on for 4 months. 4 months ago, they're doing then now. Yeah, but I mean, I would not, never overestimate CIG's predictions. Like CIG is currently saying that the sprint isn't even fucking done until December. That doesn't mean that it's done. It just means it's being worked on. The community isn't ready for VTubers based off the Pyro gangs. Yes, they are. We have VTubers already. My question is, we have Saisei, and Japan still exists. Where the fuck are the anime waifus of the 30th century? Don't tell me they don't exist. I know they exist, CIG. They have to exist. They don't just disappear because people got older. Don't tell me there aren't UE vehicles with anime cute anime girls painted on them. There's even S-pop, which is an entire brand of music based out of sci-fi, which is apparently Ben Lesnick's creation. I thought it was Sherry's creation because Sherry has a deep love of anime music from 80s mecha. From mecha anime from the 80s. Music from mecha anime from the 80s. Specifically. Star Kitten is the equivalent of Hello Kitty. I think it's Hello Kitty, right? So... That's a niche of a niche right there. She's an archivist, which is like a library scientist of a library scientist. Like most library scientists are very into like library like organization and like the history behind it and preserving stuff. But like an archivist is like the archaeologist of anthropology. It's like an archaeologist of like archaeologists to anthropology, archivists are to library science. They're very niche. Oh, come on. There we go. Zeta got done when? That's a good question. They're all Terra waifus, Terra confirmed. My ex is a librarian who hunts for lost books, basically a retriever of artifacts. Yeah. Anime cyberpunk gang when? Good question. I also don't think that... So, here's what I think is going to happen. Based off of CIG's own kind of style and how they develop things, I expect for the Pyro gangs to be very numerous in number. But I expect when Pyro first gets added in, there's only going to be like 4. But as they continue to make content, because for those of you who don't know, effectively what's going on is the team in Montreal is growing in number. I think their plan is to be like 100 or 200 people. And their job is to effectively make content for the PU. Which is why I heard someone in the leak say that effectively nobody is working on Star Citizen, or the lowest number of people who've ever worked on Star Citizen is working on Star Citizen, and everyone is working on Squadron, and that the team in Vancouver in Montreal is working on all of the content. And the answer is yeah, kinda, but also no. That's not how that works. But you know. There's a universe where CIG has a dating sim with all the other races that's official lore, forcing that instance of Paul to stream it live and truly become Lord Daddy. Listen, a fan dating sim with various anime-fied waifus of the various alien races in Star Citizen is not out of the question. If Star Citizen gets popular enough. I'm surprised we don't see ship chans with the amount of fans of Star Citizen who are also anime degenerates. Listen, I'm surprised it's not here. All right. And no, I know, I said it, so I spoke into existence, so Rule 34 somewhere, but like, or whatever it's called. It's not Rule 34, it's one of the rules, though. If it exists, if something could exist, it exists on the internet. I know that rule. Yeah, but most of them are old, and a lot of them that people correlate to Star Citizen are actually Elite Dangerous ship chans. Well, I thought Rule 34 was only porn. That's if something exists, there's porn of it. There's something that's like, if something exists, there's if something could exist, it does exist on the internet. $34.5. Yeah. No, I'm not talking about. Y'all do know that, like, gacha games aren't porn games, right? I know a lot of people make pornography with them, but they're not porn. They're just anime cute girls, effectively. Why do you think there is such a shift in priority to Squadron 42? It's not really a shift in priority as much as, well, I guess it's a shift in priority. It's important to remember that anything that's put into Squadron 42 is eventually ported to Star Citizen. It seems like at least sometime in 2019, based on statements that I remember Chris Roberts saying, I could be wrong, but I remember quite distinctly that there was a mention somewhere of CIG trying to shore up the persistent universe, to give a lot of content to Star Citizen and then flesh out what they already have so that they could really work on the gameplay loops that exist currently. And that seemed to have happened at least before COVID. And I would argue that that's done very well. I know people are like, well, I fell through a planet, or I just randomly exploded, or my character is imploding inside out. It's like, yeah, but performance is a lot better. We don't see nearly as many 30Ks as we had in the past. Crashes still happen, but they're infrequent and usually dependent on the player's computer, like a player's own the client rather than the servers. There's a lot of significant improvements to the game over the last couple of years. And it seems like, at least coming down the pipe, we're going to see more expansions of gameplay, more fleshing out of the current gameplay stuff. So the fact that some of those teams that are building the tools to help create the gameplay, the upstream teams for the gameplay, are now moving over to Squadron. Because if you read anything from the Squadron's, which we're going to go over the monthly report here shortly, but if you read anything from Squadron's monthly report, you'll note that there are some significant so in some sections, they are completely finished with Squadron. Like the first the first story arc of Squadron is finished. It's in polish phase. They've even gone back and polished it up even further. And I think the last section of Squadron is super polished. But like that middle section, there are some parts there that like don't even have PBR or OCS. Or OCS. That's Officer Cadet School. No, Object Consideration. OCS, yes. Like they don't even have OCS implemented in them. So like there are some sections of Squadron 42 that are woefully behind even Star Citizen. But there's some sections which are better than Star Citizen. At least they seem to be, according to CIG's own kind of accounts. So it's a matter of likely those teams being moved over to Squadron to try to speed up some of the modernization of those elements of Star Citizen. Do I stream my gameplay games? Yeah, I do. I stream gameplay on Fridays and Sundays. I didn't do it this last week because I just needed a break. I also had some family things I had to deal with, so. We're at 40% now. Yeah, I actually do an entire, I've uploaded most of my, well, I've uploaded 3, I gotta upload more. I upload most of my content, my gameplay content to YouTube as well, because people have been asking me to upload my VODs, so I've been doing that. Of note, Astro is referring to the Arc 1 of Squadron 42, not the whole story of the game series that they broke up into 3 parts. Yeah, Arc 1 of Part 1. So they're more like, based off of what I know, like maybe 30% done. AJ Birdmax. That's a back of the napkin. Paul doesn't have any fucking idea what he's talking about, just based off of reading what CIG has said. And I know someone in the comments or someone in the chat is going to use that as saying, see, we need to know more. And it's like, if we know more, it won't help us any, because CIG doesn't fully know what's done and what's not. Here's an example from several developers, not personal developers I know, but I've read several books on development and specifically game writing for gameplay, which were things that I was interested in, mostly because I was like, hey, maybe I could do this one day. And it was very illuminating, because one of the concepts, one of the big problems with gaming is that because gaming is developed in the way it is, it's similar to movies and television, where like movies and TV are not shot in order. You don't start with the first scene and with the last scene. You go with wherever locations you have at time and what works best for your actors and for your crew, which could be different. So a lot of games are developed in piecemeal and broken up in different parts, sometimes building bases out, sometimes building entire sections out to kind of show like concepts. And even if you are completely finished with a section of a game, you may have to go back and completely rework it. I remember the book that I read that effectively said, like, with movies and television, you have the advantage when you're writing for those, you have the advantage of setting a mood, and you only have one shot to film it. So nothing's going to change from that shot. You have to deal with the environment or the atmosphere that you have, because it's too expensive to go back and reshoot it. With video games, that's out of the question, because you can actually come back and completely change a setting because it's digital, and usually it's a lot easier to go back and change time of day, weather, other elements of the surrounding like environment, much easier and much cheaper than it would be in a movie or TV. And as a result, you have to write on the fly, because you can't be married to some ideas or specific scenes you see in your head, because it may not work or the gameplay later on. So as you develop a game, as you build out the gameplay mechanics, someone could realize, hey, this is really fun. We need to come back. We need to loop back and then reintroduce this idea back at an earlier level, so that players, when they reach this level, actually understand what's going on. And that will require you to go back and completely change something. So when I say something like the first arc of the first part of Squadron 42, the Squadron 42 is going to be in like 3 separate chunks, where the first part is the one we get, but I think in like 3 separate games. I mean that like they've looped back and they're working on crafting out to make it better. That doesn't mean that they're done with it. It means that they are no longer physically building that arc anymore, that it's in a state of completion. So a friend pointed out that we have gotten several texts recently from PU, from the PU, from the Dev 2018, since any insight that would expect more. Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way. Space Clouds. Cloud tech in general was developed for Squadron, then added to Star Citizen. And the infamous pushcart, the weapon of mass destruction, was originally developed for Squadron. It was developed for different aspects of Squadron, but was just ported into Star Citizen because they had it finished. So just because something's going into Squadron doesn't mean it's not coming into the PU. It means that it's coming to the PU later. Now, that could be not this year, but based off of what CIG has been talking, how CIG has been talking, they at least seem to imply that it should be done this year. Explained very well. Thank you. Well, the point being is there's definitely progress going on in Squadron. It definitely is not done yet. And anybody who tells you that Squadron 42 is coming out this year is at best woefully uninformed, or very, very optimistic. At worst, lying to your face. because there's no way Squadron is coming out this year. And I can tell you this because the one thing I do have some levels of expertise in is marketing. And I can tell you, as a former marketer, that there's no way you would do an activation of this scale in small bursts. You would have an activation with this scale announced a year, 12 to 9 months ahead of time. And then you would wait until you get closer to release, do a blitz on certain marketing areas to hit the right demo, and then pull it in. Now, I'm not an advertiser as well, so take that with a gigantic grain of salt. But I can tell you that I have probably more experience than the average internet denizen when it comes to these sorts of things. So the fact that we have zero evidence of a release date, and we're in March, means that there is no chance Squadron's releasing this year. Zero. Nada. Zilch. Unless CIG has a marketing team of absolute morons. And based off of the amount of money they've made and how well they've done things, they're not idiots. They make a lot of fuck ups, but every marketing team makes fuck ups. Ever since I backed in late 2012, I've understood that the Squadron 42 has always been the primary focus of CIG. Yes. They're just informing new backers. Well, it was more that gameplay is not... You don't build a game like you build a house. A game is much more similar to a TV show or a movie, where you build it in pieces, not in the right order. And sometimes you can get some stuff done faster than others, and other things require you to get this done before you can get the other thing done. So if you're waiting for tech to be developed, but you have another platform you can release it on, it kind of makes sense for you to push some things to that one platform rather than the other. So there's some stuff that matters for Star Citizen that have no fucking bearing in Squadron. But yeah, no, there's a lot of people who mistook, like, CIG saying we're working on Squadron for this stuff first and then working on content as meaning we're not doing anything until Squadron's released, and then after Squadron release you might get gameplay. That's not what they said, but you know, people took it like that. The server meshing is the foundation of the house, whereas the push card is the plant on the second story windsill. This is why the house analogy fucking fails at its core, because games are not logically developed, because they're not logic, they're art. They're art built with logic, but it's art. Art isn't always logical. Effectively, we have no foundation, but we've built the wood frames, and we've put plants on the second story windsill, and we have a very nice shiny staircase which leads to nothing, but it's made out of very, very fine oak and exposed to the elements, so it constantly breaks down and you have to constantly replace it until you have to rip the whole damn thing down and then rebuild it. And for a lot of people, they go, that's ineffective, that's not how you, that's gross waste of materials. It's like, that's how all games are developed, guys. Very few exceptions. That's how games are developed. Shit just gets done when it gets done, and sometimes shit gets put together and it fucking doesn't work. Has there been any more word on full persistence? None. Not as of the last roadmap. The roadmap update, and we won't have any word on full persistence until after 3.17 is released. So we won't have any kind of discussion on it until we get the more updates for 3.18. And I'll tell you right now, let me look it up right now. What? Okay. Hold on. You'll have to see this. What? Okay. Personal inventory, right? Y'all, personal inventory is in the game, right? It was released in 3.15. It's still got sprints on it. The actor feature team still has sprints on this damn thing until March. What? I mean, I guess they're updating it, but like, that's not like it's released. It's been released on personal inventory. I know it's an iterative process and things happen like that. It's just like, what? that shows you the kind of weird shit you can see sometimes. But the point was I was saying up here is like long-term persistence enhancements was happening in March, but like persistent streaming and server meshing is still a long way away. Like we're not even seeing the network team and the persistent tech team are both working on it well into December. Does that mean that we're not going to get it this year? No, because as we can see, this is still being fucking worked on. It's already in the game. So you also see that has nothing to do with Squadron too. So the answer is we don't know, and we won't know until we get closer to 3.18. Might be the whole loading bullets into magazines. I find it interesting. Empty magazines are redirected to inventory. That's going to happen, yeah. I've been nerding out about this game. I like I nerded out about Marvel Comics years ago. I love it. Hey, I'm glad you do. Just don't get burned out on it. So we don't know. I think the fact that they're doing long-term persistence enhancements, which says changes to long-term persistence that support the new inventory and shard database, LTP functionality will stay the same, but the system will write the data from the new entity graph database. The fact that the persistence tech team is working on that now, and this sprint ends in March, is very interesting because that implies that we may have what is it called? The current, the undercurrent. I keep forgetting the name of it. The layer. I can on the damn thing. Not the foundation. It's they call it the. No, not the back end. It's a layer of some kind. I'm sure someone's screaming right now and watching this after the fact, being like, "It's this, Paul. It's this." 7-layer dip, yeah. Replication layer. Thank you. The replication layer. That may be implying replication layer, but rep. Oh, look at this. Okay. Hold on. Shard replication layer, population, server streaming. That already done? It was done back in Q2. So we have server streaming and replication layer entity authority. Moves this code to handles the assigning and enforcing an entity authority with the replication layer. No, the replication layer isn't fully in. One thing I've gained from this following this project over years is huge tolerance for bugs. Anyways, just looking through the progress tracker has already enlightened me a lot on what they're planning on doing. Because it sounds like their sprints are ending with a lot of this stuff in March. So we should know sometime in April when they get new sprints added and stuff like that. The crossbow was done last year. The crossbow had a sprint done last year. That doesn't mean it's done. So you can see what stuff's being worked on. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be released. I still have a feeling like the reason why they haven't released the crossbows is because they worked on it and looked at it and said, we're going to have to develop a bunch of shit for this, so we don't want to do that right now. Yeah, it's a crossbow. You only got it if you backed for... If you were a backer for... Lord Britisher's game. I can't remember what it was, but the one that failed. Like they fully funded it, but then it didn't do so well. Shadows of something or other. Man, I am getting elder brain like crazy tonight. Shadow the Avatar. Thank you. All right. Now it's time to do the monthly report. So this is the part of the show at about 2 hours or about an hour and 45 minutes ish that we're going to talk about. We're going to spend the next hour looking over. So get ready for this. All right. So, PU monthly report. And excuse me while I get a little nerdy, because in my old age, my eyesight is not great. So, especially reading these tiny text. Hourly says optimistically. Let's start with the AI content. AI content began closing down the first pass on the coffee shop vendor. This is an example of the existing bartender behavior with minor extensions, being used to deliver different shop experiences. In this instance, additional content was only required on the art, animation, and level design sides. The team also added template particle effects, set up VFX animation triggers, and added the counter terminal to allow for more idle activity for the vendor. They're currently devising additional coffee shop layouts and creating wild lines. For the security behavior, the team added new wild lines, fixed the transition between at ease and to attention, and playtested guard reactions to players moving around or loitering in front of restricted locations. So, again, people who complain about like the coffee shop vendors know that it's a test to see what they can do with the bartender AI. I just saw comments of someone pointing out that Rivers is an important step towards fishing minigame that will allow Star Citizen to finally become an MMO. That is true. You cannot call yourself an MMO unless you have fishing. Wait till this man finds out that Kano is connected to Pyro. That's true. Nemo is also connected to Stanton, I believe. Oh, we didn't finish this one. Hey! The vending machine usable used in the Eat and Drink NPC flow progressed through February. This behavior allows for certain NPCs to try steal items from the usable and get frustrated if their attempt doesn't succeed. The team also added malfunctions that cause items to not be delivered. Vending machines currently have a placeholder building blocks UI that changes whether a NPC is buying or attempting to steal. NPCs stealing stuff from vending machines. Does EVA work in water? No, you just walk on the bottom. Should EVA work in water? Yeah, if you have a helmet on, you don't die. How do they come up with such left field stuff when such key stuff is needed? Bad Cows, what do you want the animation AI team to work on? Do you want them to work on fixing the planets? Do you hand a plumber a welding torch and tell them to go fix the Eiffel Tower? That's bartenders. They have bartenders completed. That's the problem. They have bartenders completed. What are you going to do with it? Who'll come up with new stuff you can use with it? Which is why we have prisons and stations and caves. All of those things are extensions of the same systems. That's kind of what they'll do. They'll play around with ideas and extend out from the utility. All right. For the medical and worker behaviors, the team began creating proper documentation to allow for the location teams to replicate respawn vignette in multiple locations around the game. I'm sorry, Hexeltron. So what the report is saying that we can dine and dash from Wally's bar and end at the end of the bar crawl. NPCs can. Did they already do passenger animations already? I don't know. I haven't seen any passenger animations yet. Or new hires and interns, yeah. Let's go. Medical and worker behaviors. The team began creating proper documentation to allow for the location teams to replicate the respawn vignette in multiple locations around the game. Okay. It just allows for workers and medical personnel to be spawned in different locations. AI tech. AI tech progressed with planetary navigation mesh and navigation links discussed in last month's report. We hope everyone enjoyed our presentation of the recent Inside Star Citizen, where we showed the current state of the planetary navigation system. We are now developing a better priority system to help select which tiles should be processed first, and are also working on some optimizations when querying navigation data on planets. Navigation links were also extended to include an easier way to debug additional markers, enabling the team to identify locations in space that can align specific animations to the environments. For example, when the NPC needs to jump to a rail or climb up a higher location. In this instance, the character's hand must perfectly align with the rail asset while using motion warp technology to account for the required height. Dynamic scrambling, I guess? On the subsumption side, the team added interesting functionalities to allow for mission logic to branch its flow base based onto what's happening systematically in the world. They implemented a solution where mission logic can use NPC and entity tracker variables to listen to broadcasted systemic events from specific agents. In support of this, systemic behaviors can now expose the information that they want missions for or any other listener to be notified of. So I think in plain English, and feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong, is that the subsumption team is adding functionalities to allow for missions to branch based off of what's happening around the mission itself. So if a mission has some specific variables, like save this NPC from dying, and that fails, it doesn't necessarily fail the mission. Think of it like you have to go capture or kill an AI outlaw. The subsumption now says, hey, if you kill this guy, you still get the bounty, but you get a reduced amount, versus if you capture them alive and bring them in. That's what it sounds like, at least. Something like that. Or allow for other listeners, so other entities can also listen in and figure out what you're doing. That's a little more confusing. I don't know if that's exactly the true or not. Dynamic conversations progressed last month too, with the team exposing functionalities for activities to mark up areas where NPCs can talk to each other. Whoever's on the AI team who watches me, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Those of you who don't know, I have been asking for probably years by now to please allow for NPCs to talk to one another. All right? I'm glad they finally got to that point, because I said that's the huge part of immersion. Hearing NPCs talk to one another about various events in lore or in game will make people a little bit more immersed into the universe, rather than just seeing people walk around and silently do stuff. It also means missions will generate based off conditions from the previous one and reassess what's happening around you to progress the story in new missions. Yeah, that's what it seems like as well. So thank you, Kasumi. So yeah, which is good. Which means that your reputation is going to matter, because how do you determine what happened to in a mission? What is your reputation doing? That's kind of the point. That'll keep them from sitting on each other. They'll just sit on each other and talk in some very weird conversations. The NPCs are going to be like the hearse announcer, immersive at first, but very repetitive, very soon. It'll be fine. I mean, there's plenty of repetitive NPC conversations that go on in every RPG that exists, every open world RPG. When in usables that contain multiple characters, routing functionality retrieves to all possible participants, then dynamically spawns conversations relevant to the available characters. NPC trolley push-pull was also updated. The subsumption interface allows for the explicit push semantic as a move request, while improvements were made to path follower precision. While debugging movement issues related to NPCs ending up outside the playable area, new functionality was added to allow NPCs to store breadcrumbs. This allows them to trace back their most recent movements, allowing the team to better investigate what went wrong. On the ship side, AI features continued to work on functionality to allow ships to land anywhere. This month, they focused on dynamically placing landing splines to give a unique flavor to each ship type, as the splines can define some visual style. These splines are procedurally adjusted at runtime, so the environment is correctly evaluated and the spline lands the ship even in locations that contain major obstacles. This is something that's been ongoing. If this is your first time listening to me kind of go through these, this is something they've been working on for the last couple of months, which is NPCs landing ships. Which, if that doesn't excite you, you have ice in your veins. Because NPCs dynamically landing ships is a big fucking deal. How boring. Everything tastes like chicken. Yeah. They're doing the breadcrumbs thing. They're just doing the breadcrumbs things now. No, they're using the breadcrumbs thing is for them to basically trace back why an NPC was able to escape the bounds of where they're supposed to go. Just, it's effectively like a easier way of tracing back their movements. We saw that NPC ship doing that thing at CitizenCon with nothing since then. Yeah, this is evidence that it's being worked on actively now. While debugging movements... Okay, I already did that. All right. NPC locomotion improvements progressed well. 2022's main initiative is to focus on key topics that the team have wanted to tackle for a while and ensure low-level systems are as robust as expected. For example, this month they focused on improving the basics for NPC to NPC collision, implementing a collision resolver that allows for NPCs to detect when they're stuck and resolve the situation. Alongside specific locomotion work, improvements to the look and aim components continued so that both can share as much of the same code, and therefore improvements as possible. Regarding the ongoing initiative to bring the subsumption editor inside the main game engine editor, the teams are currently in the narrow feedback phase. This involves going over the editor with the designers to fix bugs and address their initial feedback. That's another thing they've been adding, is they're adding the subsumption editor directly to the game, which allows them to basically plug in subsumption variables to NPCs while they're still in the engine, instead of having to design it outside and then import it in, which is going to be kind of cool. Gonna be funny when some of those breadcrumbs show them being kidnapped by players. What do you mean some, Aaron? You mean all? It's not the Bug Smashers breadcrumbs thing. I think it is, but it's being utilized in a different means. Basically they're trying to figure out, like, how the fuck did you get there? Sometimes the resolution is just a backspace. Sometimes. Animation. The animation team worked through issues with vendors, security, vending machines, and cowering and surrender. They also progressed with general security and emote facial animations. Hey, better emotes. I'm looking with that. Character art. Character art worked on subscriber flight suit for quarter 3. I'm sorry, what? We're getting a flight suit for subscribers for quarter 3. Good to know. And continued to develop the Frontier outfits debuting with Pyro. They also created Ninetales themed material variants for use later in the year. Hey, that's something they've been working on for a while. We saw that last year, I think, which is them coming up with Ninetales clothing, which is nice. Concept art wrapped up on Salvage Specialist backpack and selection of Pyro Gang outfits before moving on to Frontier outfits with the artists. Nice. Art ships. The UK-based ship team progressed with the Misk Hull A, finalizing the interior lighting, completing LODs, and working on the damage pass. The RSI Scorpius is close to final art complete. The wings are finished and added to the main body with working animations, while the cockpit is currently in the polish phase, with the final details being added. The LOD and damage passes are underway too. The Band of Merchantmen is now in white box complete and due to start gray box. So it's not in gray box, it's in white box complete. Q3 is Citizen Con. Yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, damage states is important. Damage states is for where is that for Hull A? Yeah, it's just that's always that all state ships go through damage phase. The team is currently researching developing materials to establish a ship's final look. Finally, 2 unannounced vehicles are approaching gray box and final art respectively. The latter received work on LODs and will receive final lighting, tints, and damage passes shortly. We're getting another ship with 317? An unannounced ship for 317? That's what it fucking sounds like, because it looks like it's in the same state as the Hull A is. Yeah, it's on interior lighting and LODs. Well, vehicle. They call all things vehicles now. Instead of saying ships, they call them vehicles because some of them are ground vehicles and some of them are flight vehicles. They don't say ships. If it's a ship, they don't call it a ship. I don't know about the Crusader Bomber. I think the Crusader Bomber is coming out for Invictus, which is in Q2. No. It's not going to be Surprise Perseus. If it's an unannounced ship, it's one that they haven't already been working on. If it's an unannounced ship, it's something that is going to go straight to flyable when it comes out. Yeah, Apollo is being worked on. That's the thing. If it's a concept ship that's already been announced, it's not called unannounced ship. Unannounced ship is only new ships that are straight to flyable. I believe, at least. I could be wrong. Jake can correct me if I'm wrong. But I have never heard of an unannounced ship that is, or unannounced vehicle, which is something that's already been in the concept phase. All right. We've got one that's in gray box and one that's in final art. I think the gray box is probably the bomber, but the final art is probably something different. In the US, the team spent most of their time finishing out the Drake Vulture, creating a series of paints and cut-in patterns to allow for a wider range of customization options. After addressing bugs, most of the team moved to finalizing LODs. They also worked to create a quality bar for the Drake Corsair. An updated kit was created, and the cockpit and mess hall were brought to the final art. They also made design changes in the ship's layout after seeing that some areas were negatively affecting the player's experience, such as trapping the players in the cockpit and manned turrets. That's something they've talked about in the past as well, that they're working on the... I think they mentioned it in the ship sprint report. So, no, the Corsair is not coming out until at least Q3. Was the Polaris, but they pushed it back. That was the one. That was the one that was unannounced. Nah, I don't think that was the case. Unless you have some sort of like proof that it was called the unannounced one. They mentioned 2 Anvil ships from lore possible concepts this week, Paul. Osprey and already shown up in lore, but not the Devastator. Yes, actually, I'm doing a video on that. I'm going to be recording that video after this is over with. The weapons team continued to work on the extinguisher required for fire gameplay. They also completed a pass on all iron sights to improve them from gameplay and design standpoints, which will help players fire more accurately. They're currently wrapping up final art on the dedicated salvage tool. Community. I really like that picture. That's a nice one. Unity team started this month with a Jumptown 2.0 infographic detailing what was archived during the dynamic event. They also published a Xenothreat overview and new player comm links. They then looked back at the launch for the most recent patch with Alpha 3.16 postmortem before supporting in-lore Valentine's Day equivalent Koromor. They also held a Koromor contest challenging the community to complete Yuri's final message. Oh, nice. The team then posed the community's most voted questions and consolidated Outland's new hoverbike and the developers for the hoverbike Q&A, hoverquad Q&A. The beginning of the February free fly, the team at the beginning of the February free fly, the team supported the community with a detailed event schedule and details of the free fly referral bonus. Lastly, development of the overhauled community hub continues, and the team is very excited to show more on this soon. Good to see. Alien Week is a week after Invictus. All right, so I always say this when I get to this point. I don't understand anything that the engine team is saying. They're speaking a foreign language that only very specific people can understand. So I'm going to read this off, but I will know only a few of these words. All right? So begins the reading of the Tome of Engine. In February, the physics team continued to work on soft bodies. Ooh, sexy. Among other things, the system now allows for visual skins to blend between skinned and simmed positions. Not so sexy. The stepping rate of soft bodies was also increased to 120 Hz. Work continued on general physics optimizations while improvements to wheeled vehicles progressed. All hail the Omnissiah? All right, let me try to work that out. So they're working on soft body physics, which is like cloth and other kind of non-rigid materials. And they want to allow for a system that blends with skinned and simmed positions, meaning specific cloth that's skinned to a more formed surface, and simmed meaning like cloth simulation. So it's like if you hit it if you have a cape and you hit the cape, it kind of wops back and forth. My guess is this is so it prevents things like clipping, so it doesn't clip through your body. The stepping rate of soft bodies was also increased to 120 Hertz, which I don't know what the stepping rate is, but I think that has to do with basically updates faster. So instead of having it just randomly clip through things. Whoops, back and forth. Technical term. Thank you, Otherman. Like the servo tick rate. Yeah, I think that's what it means, which is a big deal. I guess they got tired of getting shit on for clipping. The CIG is super, and I mean super, like hard on themselves for any sort of clothing clipping. They hate when they see clothing clipping through stuff. Is a client tick rate? Okay. So it's not the server stuff, it's the client stuff. But at the very least, it shouldn't be clipping through clients. You shouldn't, on the client side, you shouldn't see your cape clipping through your body. Radar simulation, thank you. The soft potty physics. God damn it. All right, let's go to continue. Thus continues the word of the engine. On the renderer, further progress was made for the transitions. Oh, and they've also been working on wheeled vehicles for a while because that's something that Darionator would probably really like because, like, they absolutely, like, it's terrible. Wheeled vehicles are horrible. On the renderer, further progress was made for the transition to Gen 12. The rendering of brushes into G buffers is now enabled by default. Support for transient vertex and constant buffers was added, and viewport handling and graphics passes improved. Tint support was added for massively instanced objects as well as render proxies. Further progress was made on porting HW skinning to Gen 12. Additionally, CGAs can now render into RTTs, and close-up RTTs are no longer rendered with the G-buffer stage. Instead, they'll be rendered dynamically in G-buffer or forward stage depending on the instance to the camera, or distance to the camera. The team has also worked on generalizing some of Gen 12 concepts and changed the render pass API to be compatible with VK_KHR_dynamic_rendering. What I got out of that is that they're working on the Gen 12 renderer. No idea if anybody else got that, but I understand some of those words. Moving things from one renderer to another and making it more easy to store information passed along. Kasumi, are you a tech priest? Can you translate the tomes for me? All right. Regarding atmosphere and cloud rendering, time was spent porting code over to Gen 12. Planet terrain height maps used for various effects, including large-scale planet terrain shadows, VFX spawning, and ground fog, already render using the new Gen 12 pass. Oh, that's good. This work will be completed shortly, after which phase for atmosphere, clouds, ground fog, and planet terrain shadows will be converted. That's great. That means that they're already using the height maps are already using Gen 12 renderers. So that's probably either, I don't know if that's already in the game or if that's just in the engine now. Because if it's in the engine now, that means 317 should see significant improvement in terms of frame rates. Because that's, I'm sure that's one of the big chomps of server performance is like having to render all of that out with the old renderers. Yeah, it sounds like optimization, effectively. Anything that's worked on Gen 12 is going to be optimization for the game overall, because it's better overall. The performance is going to be better with Gen 12. If I've learned anything from CIG, is that Gen 12 is like turning water into wine. Not like it's a miracle, but it's like one of the miracles that must be performed for Star Citizen to be complete. It's not something that's impossible to do. It just takes a lot of work. And it requires a lot of the stuff that CIG is making needs Gen 12 to be in place before they can put it in there. Don't crucify Chris, please. Gen 12 gives the player sliders. To a degree, though, Kasumi. Because, like, I know CIG is going to effectively say, you cannot turn off grass in Star Citizen because they don't want players to have an advantage because they can turn off grass and see players through the grass. So there'll still be some elements of that players will not be able to control. And again, based off of a lot of CIG's own discussions, Gen 12 is key to them being able to add more players into the game even. With the introduction of entity-centric component updates last month, time was spent further revising and improving related systems, such as ECUS Inspector. Okay. Contention in zone host updates was improved, and update calls of various systems were shuffled around to reduce or even prevent stalls. That's good. Further optimizations include deactivation of thread safety around the function static variables on Linux DGS builds, matching the behavior of the Windows game client. They have a Linux client? I don't think CIG had Star Citizen had a Linux client. Gen 12 plus sharding equals higher player counts? Possibly. Because that's the one thing that they mentioned multiple times was, because they asked directly, are we waiting on server mesh before more players can come in? And they made the reference, the teams that were asked made the reference, it's like, not really server meshing that's holding us back, it's sharding and Gen 12. I know the server runs on Linux, but I didn't know if there was a Linux client for Star Citizen. Don't shard alone. We'll be monitoring the gains once live in the PU and are confident they will help server performance. Engine team. So yeah, like I said, a lot of this stuff is dealing with engine performance, with server performance. Additional improvements were made to profiling tools and their integration into the engine along with the collected telemetry visualization. Lastly, the team continued to refactor some of the engine's main header files. Their running include what you use passes to further reduce the header dependencies and improve compilation times. Support was also given to Alpha 3.16 and 3.17. Thus was the word of the almighty engine team. Someone get those people some incense and chanting harder. Question, will we see Origin Jumpworks 420? I'm half-baked. We need to have an Origin Jumpworks 420 release on 420. The Linux org recently grew to over 2,000 people. Nice. All right. Now we're back to things I more understand. Features. Throughout February, the features team continued to develop Salvage gameplay. The use of damage mapping, which was mentioned in a previous report, is showing a lot of promise. However, there's still work to be done to reach the level of fidelity and persistence we're looking for visually. The actual gameplay is progressing well too. Features team. The current multi-tool, with salvage attachment, is used to salvage material from physical parts with damage maps and reapply the same material to repair them. That's the first mention of repair that I've ever seen CIG make. I mean, obviously, back and forth. Engine update. The Omnicide detects our footsteps along the path of knowledge. We're 11 days from Pi Day, and we still don't have any fucking pizza. Make it right, CIG. Make it right. Pizza on Pi Day. That's the first mention of repair, like open of repair. So like that's big. A pizza pie, yeah. CIG still owes us pizza. I will not rest until in my crusade to get CIG to add pizza to the game. Work also continued on the dedicated salvage/repair tool that will offer better stats compared to the multi-tool attachment. Well, I'll be fucking damned. I think they may actually do repair at the same time. Those sneaky fuckers. Oh, I care more about pizza than I care about fucking repair. 100%. 110%. fuck repair. If they have to delay repair so they can add pizza to the game, I will say fucking do it. I don't care if all of you hate me for it. Hit reverse on the salvaging tool. Oh my god, that's what they're going to do. Oh. You hit the lever going forward and it repairs. You hit it back and it sucks it away. It is a forward and reverse salvage and repair beam. Oh, there's so many people going to be so pissed when that comes out. It is reverse hole stripping, but they've never said that, like, there's nothing on the roadmap that says anything, and progress tracker that says anything about repair. It's all salvage. She's gone from suck to blow. I embrace our magic space laser overlords. Oh, are you prepared for the repair beams? Pizza is no good if it can't fit and be force impacted inside a box on the way home. I agree. Pizza will add so much gameplay to the value to the verse. I think someone's infringing on Nintendo's Kirby license. I'm fine with lasers as placeholders. Oh, it's not going to be placeholders, y'all. That's the gameplay. Lasers are, you're not getting. Anyone who thinks we're going to get like physical welds and like pieces of sheet metal onto holes is losing their minds. It's always going to be magic repair beams. In fact, they've always, even early like concepts of both the repair and the salvage have been magic beams. Drake's new ship will be made of discarded pizza boxes. Physical repair welding comes in 10 years post-release. I thought it was clarified recently, but it's still a welcome addition. Given the Vulture, a Walmart brand, great value style repairing. God, that would be insane. Yeah, Rocket Raccoon has one of those repair salvage beam guns, but it's like, that's a comic book movie. I think Star Citizen is going to have something like Hard Space Shipbreaker, at least light. Not nearly as detailed, but I think you definitely will have like hole stripping and then components stripping as well. Kind of like how you have in Hard Space Shipbreaker, you have to like disconnect like the power and then disconnect the reactors and then salvage some reactors for more money and salvage the whole plating and like various like bits like the seats for just their scrap value. That's going to effectively what Star Citizen's salvage is going to be like, but with like the components, it's not like ripping a hole through the hole to get the item, though apparently that's what they're planning on doing right now. It's going to be more like you pull out the components and then like rip everything else down to the studs and then salvage it. So the pizza must flow. Weld the pizza to the side of the hole. Oh, I love it. I love it. We can't have poop gameplay with that pizza. I'm just saying. I can't wait to land at Ruin Station and come back to have my ship of its components stripped. It's that scene from Lord of War when he lands that galaxy or whatever in the middle of Nairobi, and they like strip it down to parts in a day. The whole deformation deck. They actually said it here. It's damage mapping is what they're using. On the technical side, the team looked into improving movement synchronization when viewing other players. The priority is always to tackle complete desync bugs where player doesn't appear at all in the current place. though this work involved improving how other players appear on the client's screen. The team are aiming to achieve this improved fidelity without increasing latency, and last month saw locally simulated characters reliably playing locomotion stop animations. That's good to hear. So the characters and weapons features team is tackling desync, at least visual desync. Features gameplay. The EUPU team continued their polished work and integration tasks for refueling, which is launching in Alpha 3.17. Development also continued on life support systems and engineering gameplay. The team also took over the vehicle functionalities for the salvage mechanic. So what it looks like is for those of you who are wondering about, we talked about this last office hours, the features, characters, and weapons team is working on Squadron. That's the team that was transferred over to Squadron in September of last year. So it looks like they are finishing up a lot of this gameplay, or they're in the zone. They're physically monkeying around with the gameplay and trying to fix it and make it work. And they've handed off some of that work to the features team for the EUPU team, who are then going to be working on the salvage mechanic for vehicles. So how it works with vehicles, because at least it seems like what the features team is developing first is the hand stuff. So then the EUPU team is going to take the hand stuff and convert it into a vehicle stuff. Richard Tires Group, yeah. Pizza will hit the reverse before the Cuddy Black gets the proper toilet for it. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And I did just snort. All right, features vehicles. The vehicle features team focused on technical innovations for future release through February. This included the transit system, which requires a rework to function under server meshing. This is because transit carriages need to simulate and continue operating when no one is around. This was previously solved by ensuring the carriages never stream out, unlike most objects. However, this isn't possible with server meshing, so the team are exploring solutions to allow them to simulate when no one is around. Improvements were also made to restrict areas, which involved reworking tools for level designers to create restricted areas faster and easier. However, this will result in functional changes for players at some point. Minor improvements and updates were also made to major features relating to upcoming ships. No one believes me. All right, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. All right, I'm going to be real. There's a lot of people who don't know these. And if you are watching this right now, you're one of probably maybe 2,000 people who've watched this far. Maybe probably less than that. Of the entire community of hundreds of thousands of people who actually know that they're working on the transit system. They're reworking the transit system. They've talked about it for the last 2 months. But they're not going to show it at ISC until it gets finished, or you won't actually ever see it because it's not really changing the transit system. It's improving it and then making it work on the back end. No one really cares because no one reads this shit. I can guarantee you no one reads this shit. Many of you just found out that they're reworking the transit system. So landing zones. I didn't know that in this case that they never stream out the carriages. They never stream out the trains, which explains a lot as why they just crash into one another, because they're desynced as shit. It may be the reason why those the elevators are also broken and desynced as shit in like Grimhex. Will the transit system give me pizza though? Maybe. All right. Yeah, that explains a lot as to why those things are like, because if the transit system is just never streamed out, then so are the elevators are never streamed out either. That must be desync. It must be the issue is it's just desyncing like crazy. In space, poopsicles. Did you say that, Mad Titan? I don't remember you saying that earlier. I've been reading, so. The thing with the thing, Gen 12. Sort of, yeah, someone mentioned that. And transit system isn't added gameplay, so it'll continue to sodiums. It'll contribute to the sodium levels. It's a win-win. Also, unused cycles. Easier to simulate NPCs used to having used them and how they're not available in not available state. Yeah. The question is more, how do you turn it on and turn it off whilst also simulating it? They have the answer, which is the transition from quanta to virtual AI to subsistence AI. But I don't think they have that built yet. So you're geeky? Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. I have glasses on because I can't read small text. Especially late at night, because I'm old. All right, graphics team continued their push on the Gen 12 renderer with a large portion of scene rendering enabled in the main branch. While this doesn't have all the optimizations yet, it's a crucial first step in seeing the significant performance improvements. We're currently awaiting engine optimizations on the main thread so it can get the most from Gen 12 improvements. Both the graphics and VFX programming teams focused on improving the damage map system for salvage and repair mechanics. Goddamn, the bastards might actually do it. These changes are extensive and require emulating the damage map system on the CPU, as the server doesn't have a GPU. They added various acceleration structures to keep things performant and compressed the data so it can be effectively transferred over the network. The team also continued making the shader authoring process more modular, developing the fire hazard system and improving the auto test system to ensure they don't introduce instability to the rest of the development team. Very cool. I am using the zoom, the stuff too. You can see this. Problem is that you can't see it when I increase it like this. Easier for me to do that. Effectively, I can do everything fine without my glasses. I can read it fine. I can see everything fine. It's just harder for me to focus, especially at night and with a very bright light in front of me. So when I have my glasses on, it reduces eye strain and makes it easier for me to see. I just don't wear them because you can usually see the reflection of the light in the glasses. So no farting, just sharding. All right. Lighting. Lighting began working on major event plan for later in the year, progressing with various minor areas before the key locations are available for full pass. Ooh. Progress was made on Pyro's space stations, with the team focusing on look dev work towards the colder and less hospitable corners of the locations. Very cool. Locations. February saw the Montreal-based team complete their work on new medical locations, with the Maria Pure of Heart Hospital in Lorville and the Space Clinic variations now ready for release. Levski's Hospital is considered complete for the time being, though the team will return for final polish and debug pass closer to its release. After completing, I'll back that up again a little bit, though the team will return for a final polish and debug pass closer to its release. Am I paranoid? Or does that sound like... No, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to jinx it. Not going to jinx it. After completing the medical locations, the team moved on to derelict settlements. Hey, derelict settlements. Completing the white box stage for the first proof of concept location based around a crash Aegis reclaimer. This first settlement is a way to build and validate a full production pipeline to eventually produce derelict settlements on a larger scale. The art team is creating the visual target. The design team began learning the mission system and subsumption to allow them to populate locations with gameplay. And tools team building a suite of procedural tools to improve productivity and quality. The artist also began looking at a potential crash site with Crusader Mercury and Origin 600i. So I think Nyx and Pyro are coming at the same time. Yeah, that's why I wasn't saying it out loud there, Shadow Fox. That's why I wasn't saying it out. I didn't want to. I'm knocking on wood. Here's the thing, Kasumi. I'm going to be very honest. We already have the biggest problem of Nyx. The biggest problem of any system is the landing zones. And Nyx's landing zone has been done for years. It's Levski and Delamar. Now, obviously, they want to polish it up and kind of fix it up a little bit more. But it's done. You don't have to develop it, build it from scratch. It's already been in the game. It's been in the engine. It's had players fuck around with it. So it's a lot more complete probably than any of the Pyro stations. Or settlements even. So the idea that they could release Nyx pretty shortly after. That was literally OG Landstorm. So, like, I think that may be. I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't put it past that they could have Nyx be finished at the same time as Pyro. Because the issue isn't necessarily the systems at this point, it's the back-end server meshing that makes it work in the first place. Locations may be complete, but the content around it would be need to complete before releasing it, according to their vow. Meaning there's going to be a lot more to go wrong. We'll see. I think you may be underestimating the completeness of a lot of these systems, because again, it seems like at least CIG seems to at least it seems so far that CIG's completed a lot of the content for these systems. They're waiting on tools to finish them. This is not one of those like copium either, because it's been discussed multiple times with CIG devs about the two. So, all right, Sandbox 1. Doing the Planetech team vid. Yeah, but it was even referenced earlier than that. They started working on Nyx system, the Nyx locations, back in August of last year. But wait and see. And I also wouldn't put past CIG to just barely touch QA some of these things. Just go say, fuck it, let's put it in. Because they also seem to get a lot more out of Q&A by the players than they do internal Q&A. Because there's something where internal testing never can test, which is the game out in the wild. The Sandbox team improved new outposts down the pipeline and began playtesting with the wider team. The outposts are being placed on Pyro 3 for initial testing and layouts. Makeup and composition progressed, with the design iterating on feedback and solidify gameplay experience. And since Odin is probably done, close to done, which is needed for Squadron, may have Nyx done so that you can go there, because Squadron's within a year or two. Tinfoil hat. Yeah, we'll see. And this is alpha. Well, it's also like, I think CIG recognizes that we have a lot more of a tolerance for bullshit if it's new. Because like, if the game crashed every 5 minutes when you're in Nyx because it wasn't fully tested, I don't think people would give as much shit. They might, but you know. There's a lot of people who are okay with guinea pigs. The vocal majority of like do-it-yourself are the ones who are more asking for the best of both worlds. Stop delaying and put it out. Put it out more polished without your help. Not going to be not going to proofread myself. Question: do you think where we get hand refueling some kind of cargo tank with a pump you can attach your ship to and put it on the cargo hold? I don't know. I don't think so. Not at least initially. I don't think it would be too difficult for a couple of devs to mock something like that up once they have refueling in, but we'll see. Well, I mean, 3 systems in the same time are going to be on different servers entirely. The shards might even be different. I don't know. I don't know how that system would work. Though they could be on the same shard. CIG's system is fucking wild and makes no sense to anybody who has like ingrained MMO stuff in their brain. It seems like CIG's concept of a shard is less like a shard that we think of an MMO and more just like a series of meshed servers. It would be a good quantum test, though. I don't know. I don't even know how much quantum's in the game yet or implemented it. I don't think Roberts will go for it. Would be kind of a kick in the face of Starfarers if you could fill out your own cargo now. No, feel like no, thanks, I got my own. Well, more like because I think the Moore's question is more when they're landed at a station. When you're like, hey, I need to refuel, you can just like effectively like you can go with your car, go grab the handle and put it in the fuel tank and press the little lever. That kind of thing. I think that's what they're asking is more like when you land to go refuel, you actually pull like a hose out and click it to the like refuel nozzle and hit the button. Sharding leads to pooping. All right. There's still a long way to go for polished experience, but it's great to be able to play this as a more complete product than we've had in the past. Sandbox team. The team also began to add wider variety of static modules to mix up the sub-themes scattered around the outskirts of these outposts. Elsewhere, Art began early white box on derelict outpost variations. The team will give a feeling of age and history, so they created several smaller exploration-driven spaces along the main occupied buildings. Further work was done on Pyro's skybox and Stanton's Lagrange points, too. The team also began pre-production on a wider variety of space debris and interesting space structures that will allow them to create more interesting exploration opportunities in space. Narrative. CIG service stuff is more like the distributed commercial website than an MMO we've seen, and this is a good thing. I don't know, Trouble. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know anything about that. Narrative continued scripting and capturing dialogue for an upcoming dynamic event with multiple characters. This is the second mention of a dynamic event, and several non-linear objectives. That's one of the more complicated event scripts to date, and required close coordination to ensure that every possible gameplay trigger was accounted for. I like complicated. Sounds very fun. They also mentioned, and earlier they said it was something very difficult that they were developing, something crazy. So they're definitely doing something new with these events now, which I'm a support of. You've been working on server hardware. I defer to your expertise, Trouble. Well, have you watched the new season of Picard out? Yeah, I haven't watched the new season yet, no. You still haven't fixed it? Software guys keep breaking it all. Okay. When a hardware engineer and a software engineer talk. Listen, I'm just going to say the things that I've learned from Sean Tracy, which is stop reporting bugs and start reporting solutions. But still, listen. But, all right. So the team also supported design on various upcoming features like refueling that require text, hints, and items. Additionally, new documentation was created for branding and environmental storytelling throughout the universe, including the Pyro system. Another focus was on proposing new mission character archetypes, with the hopes of eventually populating locations with new ways to interact with NPCs and find missions. The team also continued to release lore, with February bringing the new episode of Plain Truth, discussing CDF's recent efforts against Xenothreat. Oh, I have read that. I should go over that. And the numerous new Galactipedia entries. Player relations. Player relations spent February focusing on assisting players during Xenothreat, Jumptown 2.0, and Free Flight events. The team are also recruiting extensively for live QA, tripling the number of team members to improve the service stability and publish quality. Good to know. Props. Props spent February supporting Pyro's space stations and appear in Star Citizen Live to share some of their progress. They also completed props for events coming later in the year. New props. Question, will Starfarers only transport fuel, or will cargo ships be able to transport fuel? Every ship will be able to transport fuel if they have a cargo module that can support fuel. Like right now, you have like gas containers in the small boxes. There are larger boxes that have like fuel, that are like fuel containers. But it's unlikely that you'll be able to pull like a cord out from those fuel containers and like fill something up. Think more like big rigs with like gas tanks on the back. They usually don't have fuel hoses attached to them. Two-man deployable turrets when, Paul? Listen. The QA tripling? Okay. Liquid transporter thing for all ships, but only refueling ships like the Starfarer and the Vulcan will be able to take the fuel and refuel. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you can definitely increase the number of... you can definitely carry fuel in every ship. It's just you only be able to carry fuel to refuel in things like the Vulcan and the Starfarer. You have to buy a thing you can attach a fuel canister to, then do the hand refueling thing too. Yeah, which is much later down the line. Oh, and the Crucible, yeah. But I don't know if the Crucible can refuel. So there's the thing. CIG has mentioned multiple times the ability to refuel off of a mothership. So being able to pull fuel from, say, like an Odyssey, well, not an Odyssey, but from like a Carrack, and refuel the Pisces with fuel from the Carrack. They've mentioned that as a thing that they wanted to do with the Carrack. So there may be some ships that have some ability to do that, which are limited, which assumes probably some sort of handheld nozzle material. So. I'm surprised there hasn't been mentioned any scope for water transport, let alone fuel. What do you mean water transport? What do you mean scope? Aaron, I'm a little confused with that one. Like they've already shown tanks. Like they've actually have like props, which are just tanks that are like they're square, but then you have the rounded tanks inside of the square, like metal, like housing with like various metallic supports welded to the like oval shapes. Fuel laser? Yes, Black Fused. Embrace lasers. Reject simulation. Embrace the laser. Ice pirates. Will cargo refactor add in mass and movement? Probably. God, using a tractor beam to pull out like little globs of fuel and putting it inside a ship using the tractor beam. All right. QA's primary publishing focus throughout February was supporting the live hotfixes and issues for development. They planned the publishing handoff process for Alpha 3.17 patches, along completing QATRs, new branching procedures and checklists. The team's branching policies were also revamped, and a branching checklist was created for use once integrations are complete to ensure the most stable and bug-free branch possible. Good. SST, Systematic Services and Tools, continue to work on various internal tools, wrapping up in a development for automation and scheduling for dynamic events. Nice! Which will be used when manual activation isn't appropriate. Service-wise, they extended the NPC tracker service to include various in-game events and make them available for use, for future use. Support for selling feature continued with SST, working closely with gameplay teams on the final elements, edge cases, and general polish. I can't wait for someone to make weaponized terraforming platforms work and deliver onto us the greatest space laser of all. Astropub, do you think if you're able to eject fuel behind the Starfarer, you'll be able to scoop it with another Starfarer? I don't think it works like that. Because the scoop doesn't scoop fuel, it scoops gases. I don't think it'll scoop liquids or frozen liquids. Good luck with fixing edge cases. Oh, don't worry, Kasumi. They'll release it and we'll find all of the edge cases. Because this is the Star Citizen community and we always think of things that CIG has no idea what we did. There's always something that we can break. All right, we're almost done. Yeah. Tech animation. Following the upgrade to Maya 2002.3, Tech animation took time to debug various issues, including one that caused Maya to freeze intermittently. After this, they continued to drive the upgrade to the in-house DNA system. This has been an incredibly long process to refactor the systems to be data-driven, and it's very near completion. Just a few tasks remain for us before we're able to commit the testing procedure and integration into the main game, Tech animation. They also continue to process head assets in-house. They're trailing the scan processes, extraction algorithms, and tool sets with completely new head asset with a completely new head asset to aim to achieve one-to-one likeness with the actor while retaining cross-rig animation capability. The tech team animation also supported many other teams with their initiatives, including animation, implementation, and debug. Animated asset creation and the tool sets around these teams was included. This included outsourced vendor toolset coalition, generation, and support. February saw the team kick off new initiatives to speed up the animators' workflow and offer new solutions to issues they have had with the current pipelines. Firstly, an engine animation file importer that will give the team new ways to save or regenerate source data directly from engine animation with the goal to be able to record animations in-game and recreate them in Maya. Okay. Don't know quite what that means, but okay. Secondly, they're looking to create tooling to recreate and effectively import assets directly from the engine. They supported a loadout system in Maya animation toolset that allows the source data, Maya files, to add to and change the rig that the animators interact with. This allows them to animate to the attire that the character will be animated with in-game and achieve a higher fidelity of interaction. I get that, yeah. That's basically using Maya in-game directly. Sandy Claus, thanks for having a good night. We're going to be wrapping up here shortly once we get through these various, 5 or 6 things. Tools, Montreal. In Montreal, the Tools team moved almost entirely to the Mighty Bridge tech mentioned in last month's report, which will speed up development of the procedural location tool. They also supported the locations team with derelict settlements, iterating on tools to help the asset scattering. The art team will use this tool to quickly scatter assets like ship debris and VFX to create interesting-looking locations. This tool will also be used in the production of other locations like derelict outposts. God damn. Canadians, what do you put in the water? Is it maple syrup? Are you just injecting maple syrup into your veins? Is that how you're able to be so fucking efficient? Just water, maple syrup, and coffee. Because like the Montreal team is basically like, hey, here's our concept art for crashed derelicts. Oh, by the way, it's 2 months. Here's a fully functioning tool to let you populate derelict cities all over the systems. You're welcome. Like, goddamn. Maple water. Also methamphetamines. A lot of them worked together before. A lot of them. So they have great workflow already. Do you work for CIG, Kasumi? You know a lot about CIG. The Cutlass Brown. With 14 toilets, you'll never refuel hydrogen as its methane uses. Only $280. Yeah. Holy shit, is the Montreal team efficient? I know most of them have worked for Ubi, so. Do I know Jake? Yes. I've known Jake for a long time. Jake and I are friends from back when he was just a Star Citizen creator. I knew Jake when he was known as Commander Cruz and Tom. That's how old I've known Jake. Pub Jake is a emote that I have in chat. No, I don't work for them. I just pay a lot of attention. Pay attention a lot. Okay. No, the other guy. Oh, Kasumi. No. I mean, I knew that they knew each other very well, but that's some next level like integration shit. Put them on Hades, and the systems will be out complete with dynamic blue aliens within 5 or 6 months. They build them different at Ubisoft, don't they? I now understand why, like, people are like, oh, it's just lazy. Ubisoft is just lazy when they release the same Far Cry every 3 years. It's like, no, they just built 7 Far Cries in the course of an afternoon and are just slowly releasing it because they don't want people to, like, get angry that they've made 7 different Far Cries. God damn. The truth is that the Turbulent team in Montreal were all born together and raised together. They didn't know anything other than software development until they were men. CIG merely adopted game development. We were born with it, molded by it. We did not see non-game development until we were already a man. Any complaints about the Montreal team taking over development? Go fuck yourself. Like, at this point, go fuck yourself. God damn. All right, Turbulent. Turbulent Game Services. Turbulent's online services split their time between anti-cheat, login flow, and reputation system initiatives. For anti-cheat, they implemented the new SDK to solve issues for Linux and Windows users using special characters. Anti-cheat logs have also been closely monitored, and several hotfixes were made in preparation for infraction enforcement. The login and documentation services were finalized for the overall login flow. These services constitute around 1/3 of the overall effort needed for this project that aims to improve performance and fits into the wider global server meshing project. Trees are a planetary flora network. You drink from them, you gain network XP. Hey, Fried Industry. Happy Friday to you, buddy. The former UB peeps look at CIG's quarter release schedule and see it as a moving on slow speed setting. Yeah. God damn. It makes you wonder about fucking Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like, Jesus Christ. If CIG is slow setting, that must be like ultra slow. Oh, I'm getting tired. I'm almost done. Following the significant engagement during community events, performance improvements were made to the reputation service. The team also took opportunity to shift the stack of flow changes in the stack made for server meshing. Live Tools team transitioned one of the key dev tools to new hosting technology, delivering minor feature improvements along the way. The Hex project, Game Master tool, made significant progress through the month, shifting the network operator's center to its new UI, enabling all other tools in Hex to leverage the new UI structure. Turbulent web platform. Last month, Turbulent pushed forward with backlog and tech debt cleanup in preparation for the year ahead. They also worked to resolve current issues as well as expand the library to evolve components and give more structured design systems. They also prepared an upcoming in-game events, adding new features and better showcase vehicles. I've got a question since we've got a couple of people in here and we just looked at the web platform. People who may be more familiar with modern web development. Here's the dirty little secret: how every single content creator gets images that you only see in on CIG's website. We go into the site codes and pull the links out for every single image on any website that CIG makes, download it, and then use it in our thumbnails and such. But recently, CIG has moved away from JPEGs and PNGs and even SVG files and moved towards WebP files. So I don't know if anybody who understands modern web development better than a lot better than I do. Is there some sort of performance boost or some sort of more crisper image or something that allows it for dynamic scaling better for using WebP? It's just a better JPEG? No, I do use a converter, but I'm just wondering why they moved from going from just JPEG to a WebP. It's lossless compression. Okay, so it just looks better. So they're just meeting with new standards. Is that it? Okay. UI. In February, the UI team progressed with the visuals and underlying features of the new star map. Can I get a bunch of star map hype in the chat? Just star map. Star map! Got my glasses. Anytime it gets brought up. Anytime. I also have to obligatory. Just to remind you, CIG has an award-winning star map. And I mean literally industry award-winning star map that they don't use. Because the award-winning star map is the Arc star map, which is on the website. The star map in game is garbage. You see what I'm saying? I always got to bring that up. They have a literally award-winning service that they created just for the website. And what they give us in game for the same tool is absolute shit. Yeah, the in-game star map is tier 1 exploration because it's a fucking chore just to use it. All right. Keep some pets on board for refueling the ship's or breaching defense. There we go. UI also began converting. Okay, for new star map. This included creating an in-editor concept and implementing the control and marker icon transitions. Okay. UI also began converting the visor and lens to building blocks, with many of the actor widgets being completed. Additional polish on the medical screens was undertaken, including a new idle animation for the character model representing the player's body. The UI feature team made the final polish and bug fixing passes on refueling too. The UI tech team continued to refactor the AR marker system, with the UI artists creating different icons. The functionality and developer experience for building blocks was further developed, with a variety of feature requests completed throughout the month. That's good. New UI stuff is always good, and it's one of the things we talked about in the last Captain's Table, that they really need to kind of implement some standardized features like markers. And that's what I didn't know, was that NATO has its own kind of standardized marking system that's like 600 pages long. It's like, just use the NATO system. It was developed for a reason. But yeah. Vehicle tech began February by fixing bugs for an upcoming release, including many issues involving network sync, vehicle damage, doors and elevators, and item port validations. Improved tools were being made to make implementing and fixing issues with doors and elevators easier, both within vehicles and space stations. When complete, it will help the developers fix issues without having to know the technical properties of these highly logic-driven items. VFX last month VFX continued their work on salvage effects, including using particle emitter strength curves to show when there's nothing left to salvage in a chosen area. Aside from the gaping hole in the hull, the ember and particles matter will stop spawning from the impact area. The artists are collaborating with the weapons feature team to create the best possible player experience when this feature goes live in a future release. Elsewhere, pre-production was completed, and production began on the Misk Hull A. An effects pass was done on the Maria Pure Heart Hospital, including purification scanner that sterilizes the player when passing through the entrance. Effects support was given to a new destructible prop too. Nice. Yes, Stella Fortuna, the St. Patrick's Day sale. That should be coming up soon. Question: will they ever use the ARC system? Perhaps after they get more star system diverse. ARC system? You mean the I forgot where it's called, where it is, but yeah, the ARC is in a specific star system. Yes, they will be using that ARC system when they finish it up, because it's only like 3 or 4 jumps away from where we are now. Because there's a jump from Stanton to Terra, and the system where the ARC is it's not Charon, but it's something like that. I think it's a C something. That's a jump away from Terra. So it's only 3 jumps away. It's like Tyrannus. Yeah, not Tarnus, something like that though. Yeah. It is T, not C. I am tired. Anyways, that was the monthly report. What I could gather, just kind of a quick overview. Definitely read it yourself if you haven't already done so. Salvage is getting a lot of fucking work done. There's a new event that's coming later this year, which is getting a lot of work done as well, which involves branching narratives possibly, or a lot of alternative endings. Star Map's getting worked on. They're doing a lot of stuff with Gen 12. There's a lot of back-end work being done, and they're reworking a lot of animation and tech driven stuff, especially for like AI. There's some key things which are being worked over to get into the server meshing, and a lot of work on Gen 12 renderer. Oh, and coffee. That's one mention of coffee. It's only 5 a.m. Puppet, shut up. I sleepy too, yeah. If I recall correctly, the next event they talked about was the infiltration something. I'd have to go back and look that up. If you could find me a reference to that GQ, I'd love to see that. Or yours 5 a.m. Yeah, it's 11 a.m. here, or 11 p.m. here. Just about midnight. But I've been up since 5 a.m. because I had a big day. Sun surprise ship sale Stella Fortuna? Possibly. Possibly. I don't think so though. If it's gonna be if it's something like that, it's gonna be like a ground vehicle of some kind. Well, that's going to be it for our, I was going to say Captain's Table, our office hours. A 3-hour office hours is more on the average that we've been doing. I did 2 hours last time and felt short. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow for some Star Citizen gameplay. I'll probably just do some solo stuff where I do some more smuggling for reputation. Help me with reading. Oh, Naz wanted to announce a podcast stream in my Discord. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can do that, Naz. That's fine. Where did you send it to me? Through DMs or something like that? Oh, yeah, Whispers. I'll also go through that. Thank you. I'll be spending tomorrow. Friday will probably be I'll release another video, which is going to be an overview of the Q&A for the Lore Makers Q&A, where I kind of just go over what they talked about. I'm going to be a little cheeky in that one. So, and if you like that kind of stuff, I'm going to start doing them more often whenever they do a new lore update. I've actually been watching a couple of other content creators for other things, and whenever there's a new lore bit that kind of comes up for those games, they do kind of like a quick, like off the cuff overview of what was being released. So that's my plan for go forward. So something that's going to be like an average between like a 2-minute and a 5-minute video every Tuesday for lore stuff. So thank you for watching there, Jay Bird, and thank you for the $50. I forgot who did that. The $50 is insane. Two $25 stuff. I think the Herald and the Terrapin will be available for Stella Fortuna. Probably. Yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below your own discussion parts. If you think I'm being mean, feel free to comment that. If you have any questions or if you like the ideas, I always read those comments. So, and I'll be back Friday evening. And of course, Saturday, we've got Captain's Table. We may be done with TSMR for a little bit because it seems like everyone's kind of stuff's kind of done. So we may not be able to finish up the latest season of Expanse Actium, but we'll see. My sub alert doesn't fire off when I do these sorts of things. So, but thank you for the sub. Who just resubbed? Captain No Pants, thank you for 5 months. I poked the button. Give more lore. We'll be giving you more lore here in a bit. So, but thank you. I'm just fading. Thank you all for watching. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. And remember, Ex Historia ad Astra.